This segment has been sponsored by Pro Bikes Caribe. Pro Bikes Caribe, get yours today. Before we get into today's interview, here are a little bit about the book from its author.
Hi, my name is Lasana Philbert, author of Introverted Thoughts, a collection of reflective poetry and prose written for all age groups. The book focuses on helping people to pursue a more meaningful existence through deep self-introspection. Copies of this and my other works can be found on Amazon.com and Barnes & Noble.
Lasana, welcome to Tropical Literature Creatives.
Hey man, thank you for having me.
Thank you for agreeing to be interviewed, Lasana.
Not a problem. Happy to be here.
In terms of which Caribbean island do you hail from, Lasana?
I'm from Trinidad and Tobago, from the island of Trinidad.
Okay. As you're from Trinidad and Tobago, I like to give authors this scenario. Imagine I'm coming to Trinidad and Tobago for the very first time. What would you recommend that I try as I'm coming here for the very first time? What place would you recommend that I would go, or what food would you recommend that I should try?
Okay, I would recommend, as far as places to go, for writers specifically, or authors and stuff like that, Blanchisseuse, or most recently, a place that I've been to, and I find it very fascinating, is Clifton Hill Beach. It's a fascinating place for writers to sit and write and get their thoughts out. And as far as food, they can actually try the bacon shark in Maracas. It's pretty good, but they must add fries with it too. You can't eat it by itself. And a nice cold bottle of orange juice.
I mean, you're touching everybody. You're making recommendations for the authors and the foodies and stuff who are watching.
Absolutely.
Yeah, nothing must go to waste. Nothing must go to waste in Trinidad here.
So, but for your creators, but for the authors, they actually should try Clifton Hill Beach or Blanchisseuse. It's nice writing spots.
Okay. In terms of your book, Introverted Thoughts, can you tell us a little bit about it?
Well, Introverted Thoughts is basically exactly what the title states. It's basically me expressing myself as an introvert. So the entire book is made up of my life in reflection at that point in time. So every poem, even though it's various types of poems that I actually write, all of them is reflective poetry. All right, but from the introverted perspective of life. So that's basically what the book is made up of, a whole bunch of poems. 3 verse poems, by the way, of my life as an introvert. Right. So that's basically it. So it's not too complicated.
Okay. In terms of yourself, how long have you been a writer?
Well, I've been a writer since the age of 8. I started off writing. I actually fell in love with essay writing in primary school, and that transitioned into writing poems in college, and transitioned into writing songs while I was also in college too as well, and then me reverting back into poetry, and I got into Bard College in New York. So my entire life I've been writing, but as far as fevers, as far as being outside of the parameters set by the literary world, as I see it, it's been a journey. It's been something that's a lifelong passion, but this new path that I've taken, writing people's poetry, poems and stuff like that, is something that's been very fascinating to me as a writer.
I mean, as you said that you've been writing since you've been 8 years old. I mean, it's a lot of time to be doing writing, and I imagine that you become very proficient at it.
Right.
In terms of your works, have you had the need for editors in order to present your work, or are you at a point in time in your writing where you're just so proficient, you can just write it the way that it is, and it'd be ready for print, and it'll be ready for print?
I've reached that level of proficiency because I've been doing it for over 20 something years. So it's I still do need editors, because sometimes you need someone to go over your work for spelling errors and stuff like that. My thing with editors, my problem with editors that I had in the past, is one of the reasons why I'm very picky with editors, is that most editors try to change the form of work that's presented to them. In the sense that they try to make it flow the way that they think it should actually flow. And that's the issue. So whenever I present my work to editors, all I ask them to do is just look for spelling errors, and that's it. They can't touch anything else. They can't change the format. They can't change. So they can't change everything else. No structural editing, basically. So that's one hours. That's looking for. So yeah. And as far as proficiency go, I can write a book. I'm material for like 3 more books by the day, right? And most of that stuff I can just type it out and it's ready for print. However, I always try to be a little bit more professional and try to let somebody else, another pair of eyes read my work to see if I'm missing a word here or spelling errors and stuff like that. Even though no book is perfect, I still try to use an editor.
As you indicated that you've been a writer since the age of 8, I imagine that part other works between then and now. Can you tell us about the ones that have stood out?
Right. So my first collection of poems, Touch of Isolated Soul, that book, still getting a lot of reviews from people who, all around the world who actually read it. And I have a second book called Reflections, Life in Hindsight. That book too as well is getting a lot of from people around the world who read my work and they tell me, it's just different to somebody expected from, a self-published poet and stuff like that, because my work touches people in many ways. I don't really see it because I just write from within, but the work itself touches everyone. So I can only go based on what other people know about my work itself. But I do have 2 other books. One is called Course Naturally. So that was my first book, and my second collection is called Reflections, Life in Hindsight. And the third one, which is most current, is Introverted Thoughts as well.
Okay. And all of these books, can they be found on Amazon, or is there a place that we can locate it if it is or other than Amazon, that we can get it if we wanted copies?
Right, absolutely. So despite being available on Amazon, it's available on numerous online retail shops, sites, such as Barnes & Nobles. Last place I saw it was on IndieBound and stuff like that. But that's for more people in the US. As far as in Trinidad, I haven't been able to reach out to any other bookstores apart from Scribbles and Crows and Shibboleth. I still have them distribute my work. And I think I need to get back in touch with them too as well to restock some of the books that they have there. So basically, right now, everything can be purchased via Amazon and Barnes.
In terms of your books, are they self-published, or did you go through the traditional publishing method to get them out?
All of my books are self-published, and they are published via KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing. That's a publishing company owned by Amazon. So I chose the self-publishing route instead of the traditional route because the number one reason was restrictions. Traditional houses tend to restrict your work and try to micromanage everything that you do, how you write, how your work is presented, everything. And for me, that was a no-no. As a creative, creative people don't like to feel restricted or confined to the limits of others, because then that's not even being a creative. You can't create anything if people are restricting your creativity. So I chose self-publishing as opposed to traditional publishing for that simple reason. And the other reason that I chose it is because at the time, traditional publishing houses tend to push back the release dates of many of their offers for financial reasons, and that's a no-no for me. I want my work to be out into the world without any restrictions, without having a timeline, without having anything change in my, the way that my work is presented. So, self-publishing was the route I saw fit for me. And even before I self-published, I had to shop around to see which self-publishing platform was the best, because you have a lot of self-publishing companies that actually offer to self-publish your work, but the quality of books that they print is very poor. Is very poor, and also the royalties that authors actually get is very poor as well. So I chose KDP based on a number of factors. They really help authors, and their royalty scheme is very good, and their printing presses is top notch, top quality stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that is encouraging to hear, because a lot of persons, the authors who I've spoken with, writing a book is an investment. And by listening to a book, it's only like you're shopping around, you compare prices, you compare services, and you just settle on what you see, when you check boxes, this one meets the requirements, we're going with this one. So that is encouraging to hear.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, man. So it is encouraging because it's not too often that you will have companies that are very proficient in the stuff that they do. They actually have a nice website, things look nice, but when you really start to get down to the nitty-gritty of distribution, quality of your books, so stuff like that, that stands out with your base, with your target audience. So if the quality of books that you're presenting to your audience is poor and low, everything else that's coming afterwards, they're gonna assume, not because they are biased off the top, but based on what they're seeing in front of them. Because most people shop with their eyes, basically. They're gonna think that the work that's inside the books is poor quality too, as well. So I always try to go with the best. That's it. And KDP, they're the best for me, personality. Sorry.
In terms of your publishing experience, was there like a book? Was there like a manual? Were there tutorials in terms of self-publishing? Or I have very little experience with KDP. Are there like manuals that give you guidance as a first-time author as to the process for getting your book converted from a Word document, let's say, into a published book? Give us some of your experiences.
Right. So I didn't have any of those. I had a friend of mine's, her mother was an old school teacher. That's my first editor. She formatted everything for me, and I just had it ready I just went on KDP's website, signed up, and I followed the guidelines. But that website is very, very hard to navigate. So as far as the self-publishing aspect goes, it's been difficult for first-time authors. So what I did, I created a KDP self-help guide for authors to publish their own books via KDP, because using their website is really hard to actually to navigate, because there's so much information, so much. It's difficult for first-time authors. So I try to help out by creating a self-help guide for authors who want to publish on KDP. So there are a bunch of materials out there, but it's so saturated. It even adds to the madness that KDP has on their website. So you might be looking at KDP thinking that, okay, it's telling me to use this to self-publish. Let me go on YouTube and see how to self-publish. When you click on YouTube now, a whole bunch of other stuff comes up about how to publish on KDP, and that even confuses you even more. So I just created a 40-page guide to help people from start to finish, from when they have scraps of paper all the way to when the book is finished. That's it.
I mean, that sounds really impressive. I mean, in addition to getting your work done, after completing the process, you'd have had the foresight to say, here's what, I know that everybody isn't going to be as quick as myself. So let me do something to help the other person, to help them navigate this.
Right.
How should I put this, man? This wild frontier, this uncharted 5,000.
This mind shield. Science shield.
That might even be a more apt description for this situation. But that manual that you put together, is that also on Amazon, or is that something that you share with persons as you meet them?
No, right. So I shared with persons who are interested, and not technically not everybody, because it's supposed to actually be for sale too as well. So it's not on KDP as yet. It was on another platform. It was available through Koji. Koji was a platform that allows people to create digital products and actually sell them. But Koji got bought out, so I lost that opportunity. So now I just have the book there, and in the PDF file format. And I give it away for free sometimes, and other times I just ask for a small price, a small fee, and I send it to other people who are interested in it. So that's basically it.
Okay, yeah. I'm looking at, in terms of your self-publishing experience, obviously you would have had to interact with persons like editors and in some instances graphic artists, because I'm looking here and these things look, I always say this to authors whose work impressed me. This doesn't look like it's something that was done in a garage or anything like that. This thing looked impressive. I'm looking at Introverted Thoughts here, and I'm getting the feeling of, I'm thinking that there's going to be something deep and wholesome inside of this book.
Trust me, there is.
So give me a little about the cover. Is it that you interacted with a graphic artist? Is it that you did this yourself? Is it that you contacted Fiverr?
Right. So after creating my first two book covers, I realized that after getting some advice from other authors as well, they say, yo, you have really good work inside of there. Like, you really need to let somebody else do the design for you and stuff like that. Let somebody else do it. Give it up. You already did all the writing. Let somebody else do the book covers for you. And they recommended looking on Fiverr, for a good graphic designer within my budget. And that's what I did. I went to Fiverr and I found a graphic designer from Germany, and she's the individual who was responsible for this third book cover, Introverted Thoughts book cover, which was fascinating because all I did was describe what I do to her.
Yeah.
And she sent a couple of pictures. I was like, wow, is she reading my mind? And then after she sent a couple of pictures and stuff like that, I saw it had a tree with like a lake with a boat on it and stuff like that. I said, yo, this is exactly what I was thinking about. Something like this that actually brings out that whole introverted aspect of the book. Right. And she went ahead with it and she said, listen, I got you. I know exactly what you want. That was the finished product right there. So I would recommend to authors searching on Fiverr for an individual who can work with them and who can understand their thought patterns. Because a lot of people might shy away and think, oh, these people will not understand what I want and this and that. No, they're actually people who can, once you tell them specifically what you want, telepathically, I don't know, something, they just come up with stuff that meets your expectation, so I recommend Fiverr.
No, that is encouraging to hear. The interactions that I have with some persons, sometimes they say the where it comes with Fiverr. Sometimes it's hit and sometimes it's missed. Sometimes you interact with like a graphic artist or someone providing a service, and just like you said, you wonder if it is that they are telepathic. They know exactly what your needs are and they provide something, along those lines. And in other instances, some persons don't have those experiences. But I'm really glad that your experience was pleasant, and in terms of the finished product, that looks top notch, man.
It is top notch. And when I looked at and she even asked me for like if I have a logo. I was wondering what she was talking about. And when I sent the logo, I saw what she did. She actually helped me to see another aspect of myself as a writer as far as branding goes. So she put my logo in the back, right next, across from the barcode, and I was like, that's it right there. So she got across to as well that this could be a brand, not just a book. It's your brand and stuff like that. So I recommend Fiverr. But find any right person who are willing to work with you, and there are a lot of people who will rip you off on Fiverr. As far as ripping off goes, meaning that you won't get the quality of work that you would expect. So people need to like shop around and really see what works and what doesn't work. Look at their catalogs, look at some of the stuff that they did for the people, and then choose, and move forward from there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the logo and I'm really liking this. How it has, the traditional pen, with the feather, poems by Sana, and I'm like, this, yeah, this, yeah.
And actually, it's actually a Trinidadian guy that did that for me. His name is Ninja Official on Instagram. It's Ninja, right? Ninja Official. It's a young kid, but he's very brilliant. He came up with that logo for me in like a week or so, and I just snatched it and run. I bought it immediately.
Yeah. If you didn't snatch it, I would have snatched it first.
So we have some really good, talented people in Trinidad too, as well, as far as logos and design goes too, as well. So they can look around Trinidad too, but I would recommend Fiverr.
Exactly. Okay. In terms of, I mean, I'm hearing you talking, and I'm hearing about your experiences. There would be like persons who would be wanting to do something similar to yourself, wanting to self-publish their own works. What advice would you give to persons who might be considering an option like that, as opposed to going the route of traditional publishing?
I would say it all depends on what you're trying to accomplish. If you're trying to get your work out to the world as soon as possible, I would recommend self-publishing. But before you self-publish, you need to shop around and see what works for you, because there's Ingram Spark. Ingram Spark does a lot of good work too as well, but they are poor customer service. All right, and there's a couple of other sites, Lulu and other stuff like that. So, but KDP beats everyone out by far. So I would recommend people look around first and see what works for them if they want to self-publish, and choose as they see fit. But if you want to get your work out to the world as fast as possible, self-publishing is the best route without restrictions, And another thing too, without If you don't want any interference with your creativity, self-publishing is the way to go, as opposed to traditional publishing.
All right. In terms of your books, what would your thoughts be about your books being used for educational purposes? And I'm talking about both groups of books. I mean, on one hand, the poetry that we have written in the Caribbean, obviously you would have gone through secondary school, so there were books that you'd have used for poetry, such as maybe Bite It or other literary works to help persons with their reading and their comprehension skills. What would your thoughts be if it is maybe 10 years from now, or maybe even next week, if it is that you were to be approached and your books were to be adopted or incorporated into the educational system to help persons with their reading and their comprehension skills?
I would actually be elated if that happens, but the problem with that is that my work is a bit complex. So it will have to be for probably tertiary or people who are in like A levels and stuff like that. Because the way that I structure my poems is very complex for someone to sit there and teach that to like say primary school or even secondary school kids. It will be too much. It will be too much as far as the complexity of how I write and stuff like that. Trying to break it down to teach them that aspect is going to be some for like people who are in line with the tertiary education, studying poetry, literature, and stuff like that on that level. I would, I put it. But as far as it being in schools, I would never oppose that. I actually be, recommend it. I'd be elated. I would want it to be there because I would want them to experience the way that I write and the way that I put together my words and the reason for me writing and stuff like that. These books. So I define my genre as basically free verse reflective poetry, which is a literary form that allows poets the freedom to explore their personal thoughts and emotion in a spontaneous and introspective manner, and without them being bounded by traditional rhyme or meter. All right. So that's what I write. That's the way that I write, and the reason why I write is basically to actually inspire people to pursue a more meaningful existence through deep self-introspection. So I would really love my work to be in schools and stuff like that. I wouldn't have a problem with it.
No, I'm glad your thoughts are like that. In addition to your poetry, that particular manual that you spoke about, have you been approached by anyone to, for example, do workshops, or even for that particular manual to be printed to be used to guide other persons as to the self-publishing process? And this is just me thinking out loud here. I'm thinking there may be a person who's in secondary school who may have a desire or an aspiration to be a publisher or to have their works published at some point in time in their lives, and they may not have the know-how as to how to do so. And here it is, my book, my library in secondary school, and I see this book by Lasana Philbert or Sana, that is giving the right as to how to self-publish books. And I'm like, there's stuff like this here. Let me go through. What would your thoughts be about that particular book that you would have written being used?
Well, you just gave me an idea of something for you to work on. All. That's it. Because the self-help manual that I have, self-help guide, is only geared towards KDP authors, aspiring authors. So, but as far as writing a guide or a manual to help people self-publish, yeah, that's something that could work for me. That's a great idea actually. So that's it.
Hey,
that's on my list. No, that's on my to-do list now, so I can support other people.
You're welcome, man. You're welcome.
Well, yeah, definitely something to think about doing.
All right. Well, as we're thinking about the future, I mean, we're getting close to the January, February, March, April. We're like 1/3 of the way into 2024. I mean, what are your plans for the rest of 2024?
Man, I have a lot of plans. I'm working on my 4th collection, by the way. I have material for my 5th and 6th books as well. But my 4th collection should be out in late October. I'm giving myself enough room to release this book because it's highly anticipated by some of my peers and stuff like that, One of them being Kenneth Maraj, who's an actor, who's a US-based, a Trinidadian US-based actor, who's one of my favorite friends and supporters too as well. Everyone is anticipating my work and stuff like that. So I will definitely, I'm definitely working on something for late October, which I'll give away the title right now. We have the title of my fourth book is called The Evolution of Thoughts.
Okay. All right. You know what? You got my interest with that one, but you know what? And I'm going to ask more. You disclose the title, so we'll just we'll be looking out. We'll be looking out for. We'll be looking out for.
Right.
Persons for this podcast. What words would you like to leave with them as we wrap up this interview?
Okay, for anyone who's listening, number one, I will tell you to check out my work. It's something that's is really inspiring and can really help you, get over some of the rough patches that you may encounter in life or will encounter in life, because life itself is not perfect. All right, so my books actually offer, an route, an avenue, or an escape out of the everyday madness, right? And that it really puts everything into perspective. So I think that people should really check out my work. And also number two, for all the aspiring authors out there, don't wait too long. Don't overthink it. Just produce your work, format it, and try to get it out as soon as possible. All right. Don't doubt yourself. Don't overthink it. Just do it. That's all I can say for you.
Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Lasana Philbert, also known as Sana. Thank you very much for agreeing to be interviewed by tropical literature creators at this time.
All right, and thank you for having me as well. Have a good day.
It was my pleasure.